Recording. And maybe Rachel will join us. It's fine. Right, we're going to start seated. So, welcome. We're bijou tonight, which is always good. It just means I'll go off that tangent even more. So tonight's practice, I've got some pendulum flow where we kind of feel that kind of up and down and a bit of stretching, and just if you don't want to do any of the revolve twists or side poses, then just keep things straight forwards. Some of you enjoy the twists, some of you don't. So just take whatever suits you. And we're going to be looking at that breath, that balance, and that movement. There's a little bit of balance in here as well. And we're going to deconstruct chair pose. That's why we're going to deconstruct it, because that's your quads feeling the burn, isn't it? And we're going to get our hamstrings and our glutes to feel the burn. Oh dear, such gratitude. Right. Welcome everybody. It's lovely to see folk. So just take a comfy seated position and just allow yourself just to settle, just to relax. Lengthening through the spine, just drawing the chest gently open, shoulders relax. And just tune into how you feel today. And just allow the breath to rise and fall. And start to consciously, if you want to play with the breath, start to consciously smooth the breath, elongating and lengthening the breath. And then we're going to just take a few movements. We're going to take our left hand across to our right knee, and we're gently going to draw our right hand all the way up. You can always soften this by just drawing your hand to shin if you don't want that stretch. And then draw the hand across and allow yourself to curl. Allow the right hand to stay on the knee, lift the left arm, stretch up into the sky. Bring it back to the opposite knee, unravel and lift. Exhaling, we round the spine. Inhaling, we lift. Waking the brain up. Exhaling, I'm not going to do right and left here for you. All the way up. And just drawing a little bit of a cat-cow. Flexing the spine. And just come to a point where you have got both hands on the knees and you can just round. Take a pause here and then open the hands behind you, cactus arms. Interlace the fingers gently behind you. Just gently draw the chest open, gaze forwards or up. And you can either just bring a gentle twist with the hand just gently to the knee and the hand behind, or you can take that a little further if you wish. Keep breathing until you come to the other side. All the way forwards. We're going to walk our hands just gently forwards, stretch through the sides of the body. Inhaling and exhaling into the back, into the sides. There's a bulb that went. All the way back, walking the hands behind you. Now you can just take a little moment here where you just open the chest, or you can lift the hips and come into stretch. Whatever suits you. Coming back down if you want to, whenever. And we're going to come forwards. So we're going to bring ourselves to stack back. Now we're going to play with cat-cow here. What we're going to do, use a blanket under your knees just to help soften the knees if you wish. When we come into cow, we're going to lift the heels, bringing the heels towards the body, looking forwards. Don't overstretch if you don't need to. And then as we come to round the spine into cat, you can either round as we normally do, or you can come into a hovering cat with the fronts of the feet or tuck the toes, whatever suits. Okay. So we inhale, come into cow. Exhale, round the spine, either come into cat or hovering cat. And just take a moment, and when you bring the heels to the body, really just draw the heels towards the body as much as you can. And then just bringing a little bit of a heat towards the core, just allowing that movement. And whenever you wish, just taking your hips for a walk if you want to, or you can hold hovering cat for a little bit longer. Just tuning in again to what you need. Pausing if there's just areas that you need to stretch or breathe into. So we can inhale and we can push that breath to that place where you feel that tension. And then gradually, you can either stay in stack back position, working here with the shoulders, or you can come to downward facing dog. So everyone's choice, allowing yourself to come into downward facing dog. Pedaling the feet out. Swaying the hips. Just allowing movement here. And then we're going to come up and over into high plank. So just that plank pose where we push into the heels, hands just underneath the shoulders, gaze is long to the end of the mat. Draw that front body up and in. Take a moment with the plank. And then a gentle vinyasa, knees can come down. You can come forwards. You don't have to come all the way to the mat if you don't want to. Sweeping into cobra. Meeting in downward facing dog. We're going to step or hop to the top of the mat.
Take a moment here in forward fold and just be aware of the weight over your feet. So we have a tendency to just bring the weight back when we're in forward fold. So bring the weight into the balls of the feet at the front. So lift the toes and really place the toes and bring that weight, and then anchor the heels. Bend the knees as much as you need. Draw the head, allow the crown to lengthen towards the mat. Hands can come to elbows if you wish. Dangling pose. We're going to inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Now we're going to rise up. I'm going to bring my hands to my hips, which engages my shoulders towards each other, my elbows, and I'm going to push through my feet, lifting and hinging gently, allowing yourself to come into mountain. Take a moment in mountain. Just allow yourself to feel the connection between you and the floor. That lift through the front body, relax the shoulders. And we're going to sweep, inhale, lift, hands come high. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, step right foot at the front of the mat, step the left back into low lunge. And lift all the way up, crescent moon. Crescent the arms, cactus the arms. Told you I'm going to forget all my words tonight. Inhale, lift. Come forward, take a little vinyasa or child's pose. Whatever you choose, might be to low plank, up dog, rolling to downward facing dog. Take a moment here. Allow the head to relax in downward facing dog. And then come up and over to the top of the mat, however you arrive, into Uttanasana. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Take a moment in fold. Bring the weight over the balls of the feet. Engage the core, soften the knees, allow yourself to lift. Keep the arms moving to upward. Hands to the heart. Folding, bring the movement, the flow, smoothness. Inhale, flat back. Left foot at the front, step to low lunge. Anjaneyasana. Inhale, crescent moon. Cactus the arms, exhale. Inhale all the way up. And take a vinyasa. Stepping feet together. To downward facing dog. Now take a moment in downward facing dog. We're going to anchor the left foot. We're going to open the right into tripod. As we do that, we're going to stack the hip. So keep even weight in those hands. Try to keep the hips, the kind of hip points facing down towards the mat slightly. So it's actually your leg, your quadricep. So what I'm doing is I'm keeping these hip points and I'm opening the leg rather than opening the hip. So this hip is not going right to the side. In this instance, I'm just keeping the hip point forward. So it looks slightly different. It looks, if I choose my other leg, so I'm opening the leg and then I'm turning that hip just slightly down towards the mat. So I'm keeping an even pressure in the hands. You don't get quite as open. Just allow that. And then bring the knee all the way up into the nose. Back to downward facing dog. Right foot anchors, left foot tripod. Again, just pushing that heel into the glute, keeping the hip points forwards. Bring the knee all the way to the nose. Downward facing dog. Step to the middle of your mat. Into forward fold. Allow yourself to hinge at the hips and come all the way up. Give the shoulders, the neck a bit of a roll. Shake out. And we're just going to play, you should be a bit warmer now. We're just going to play with chair pose. So what we're going to do, we're going to bring our feet together so they're touching. And we're going to lift our toes. Now, when we go into forward fold, the tendency is to go back. When we go into chair, the tendency is to go forwards. So we're going to put the weight, the opposite, into our heel now. Okay, so we're going to ground our heels. So I've confused everybody already. So now what you're going to do, you're going to ground into the heel. This is slightly different, but push the feet into the mat. Okay, so you now feel that you've got quite a lot of security down here going on. What you might feel is that your quads are not doing as much work now. Because you're pushing into your heels, can you feel the glutes and the hamstrings engage at the back? You might have to do a little shuffle with the legs. So just think about zipping the feet and see if you can push into that heel. And what happens if you push forwards into the toes? What happens to the quads? If you push into the heels, are you feeling a subtle difference? But it's very subtle. Okay, so now what we're doing is a chair pose that is now targeting glutes and the hamstrings by pushing into the heel. What I want you to now do a little bit more is draw the core in while we're here. Okay, and I want you to put the chest bone just gently to the sky. Now your drishti is going to be forwards and up. Now with your arms, you can either have hands to the heart, you can have hands in cactus if you wish to protect the shoulders, or you can bring the hands up, opening the chest bones. Now, what we're going to do now, and you don't have to, is see if you can zip the inner thighs. So zip all the way, lifting up, that kind of mula bandha, lifting into that block. Now, can you feel chair pose really working for you? Yeah. Now, you can shake the legs out a bit because that's probably feeling it. So there's different things. So this is what I wanted to pick up with this tonight, is that chair pose, there's no certain way. You can use a yoga pose to target different muscles with the same yoga pose, but it's a very subtle difference of where you put weight, how you tuck tailbones. The other, I haven't bought any blocks because I didn't have spare hands, but if you put a block between the legs just here, if you have a block, just try this. Put a block between the thigh and squeeze, you probably don't need to do this, and squeeze the thighs together on the block. You should now feel even more engagement in Utkatasana. Really squeezing that block. Okay, and relax. So what I'm just showing you is you can also, if you feel that you've got like your Achilles, if you're running and your Achilles gets sore, you can use that block behind the heels. So now try, don't put the block down, try if you have a block to pop it, and that's it, use a rug as well, to pop the block behind the heels to stretch the Achilles. How's that feel? Weird. And relax a little. So you've got tiny subtleties that you can play with. So often chair pose, we come into it and we're zipped up, and you said it earlier, you can feel your quads burn.
But actually, the quads is the strongest muscle compared to your the quads are the things that are going to engage first and take over. And actually, what we really need is the hamstrings and the glutes to actually strengthen as well. So by just subtly changing that pose, so pushing into the heel, zip the feet together, push, you're going to be trying now, pushing into, no one will be able to walk tomorrow, including me. So don't worry, you can get your own back. And I went running this morning as well. You can try and then tuck the tailbone slightly in, which will allow you to engage the core even more. Maybe bring the hands just to prayer while we're concentrating on this. You might be able to feel slightly different. You're not feeling it, you're not sinking low enough, Laura. Yeah. But it's going to protect your lower back. So find a place that's comfy for you, because we're all different. It may be that you're doing so much of your exercise actually standing and things that actually your muscles are actually kind of very, you're not going to feel that difference because you're young and sprightly, Laura. And actually you might be going, yeah, my hamstrings are rock solid anyway. It's your shins. Yeah, my shins sometimes get that. In chair pose. Yeah. So the lower you go. So can you bring what they're hurting? No, just can feel it. Yeah. So push into the heel, but also ground the toes as well. You're gonna love me now, aren't you? Right. Shake the legs out. It's just to show you that you can change a pose very slightly, and it can be quite a good way of strengthening different muscles by the way you just subtly change the position of the feet. So we'll come back to the top of the mat. And where are we going to go? Oh, let's go. Let's interlace our hands behind us. Draw the shoulders gently down. Take the gaze wherever's comfy. And we're going to fold, interlacing the hands. Again, shift that weight to the front of the feet. Take a breath here with the hands interlaced. Come all the way back to chair pose because you love it so much. We're going to lift up. We're going to come right leg up into one-legged mountain. Figure of 4 as we come down. All the way back up. Don't worry if you wobble, just come back into the practice. Up into one-legged. And then bring yourself into a little standing split. So hands are going to come to the mat. You can come to this standing split here, and if you wish, you can grab that foot behind if it's available to you and come into a little bound standing split. It's almost like a little bound, kind of sugarcane type pose. Release the hands to the mat, release the foot behind you, and lift up to crescent moon. Take a little balance with the hands, draw the back knee down to low lunge. Sweep arms out to the side, hands come together. And then take a little vinyasa. Lifting that back knee, or child's pose if you wish. Into downward facing dog. Bending the knees, stepping forwards to the top of the mat. Into fold, interlace the hands gently behind you. Promise we won't do too many chairs, honest. Swinging the hands gently forwards and back into Utkatasana. Left leg comes up now, one-legged. Little figure of 4. Keeping that balance, that focus, that breath, the movement. Back to one-legged mountain. Little standing split as we bring the hands gently forwards, the leg back. Take that into a little bound pose. If you wish, you don't have to. Releasing that bind, step back to high lunge, crescent moon. Sweep the hands forwards. We're going to bring ourselves to low lunge and Vinyasa. Sweeping the hands out to the side. Inhale, lift the body. Exhale, hands to the heart. And bring the hands down, knees together, and just take a little child's pose just for a moment. Stretching through the body. Breathing from side to side, front to back. Walking the hands towards you gently and doing the other thing that I was going to unpick tonight was and it's a shame that there's a couple of folk that really would have loved this, is low lunge. Sometimes in low lunge, and I'm not sure, well, you might tell me different, you can get a bit of knee pain when you come forwards. And what you do, you lock your knee onto that kind of kneecap bit, and then you come up, and sometimes that can feel uncomfortable. So I was just going to give you the alternative. When we come into that low lunge, if you do suffer from any of that, bring the knee underneath you. What that is doing, it's taking a tilt away from the pelvis. So now what is going to happen is that I can now lift up the body, and you probably saw me just rise then. I can lift up and engage the core. That then allows me the lift of low lunge. So now I've taken the pressure off my knee because I'm not putting the weight into my knee. There's nothing wrong with either unless it hurts. So try it. So come into Anjaneyasana, low lunge. Either side, we're going to try both sides. Traditional low lunge, where we just take that knee slightly back. We allow ourselves to sweep up and just observe how that feels. Tune into how you feel. You might feel that you've got a stretch through the quad. You might feel that there's a lot of pressure in the knee. You might feel absolutely great, which is absolutely fine. Now bring the knee underneath you. So you've got that kind of 90-90 low lunge. And now you're able to lift the body and see if you can float the upper body up. Pushing into that front foot. Is there any difference now to how your back knee feels? Well, what that's going to do, so relax, because otherwise you really are working hard. What that's going to do, Vicky, because you've taken out the anterior tilt of the pelvis, you are now literally tucking you've got a neutral tailbone, which then allows you to then engage the core, because all the muscles here are all kind of connected. So it allows you to engage the core, which then allows you to lift up out the body. Exactly, you've got a lovely stance there, which then takes the pressure off your knee, because you're now lifting, but also now you're grounding into the heel, which then gives you a really nice firm base. I'm giving you alternatives. Try it on the other side, otherwise you'll be so I knew this would end up as like just a mini workshop tonight if no one was here, but it's always good learning. So try it how it feels, and there's no wrong way unless something hurts. Because one does something different to the other. But then you're right, Vicky, because you've got that different tilt of the pelvis, which allows you to lift up through the body. You can engage your core more, which then allows you more height, more lift. So in the practice, if we come into low lunge, you do not have to take your back knee as far back as you don't have to have that kind of stretchy low lunge. You can take that. It's almost like right angles. And if that helps your hips more and helps your lower back more, because it might be that your lower back in low lunge kind of can feel it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so it's not so comfy. Okay.
So doing the right angle.
Yeah. So do right angle. You've still got a really nice firm base, which allows you then that really, and it actually looks, I saw yourself, Koi, it actually looks comfier. It's just an alternative that you can play with. So we need to be careful in yoga that we tune into what we want and not what we think we want. So what we'll do, we'll pop that into practice. So we'll come up to the front of the mat. And we'll just play. So now when you go into chair, you can change maybe where the weight is. Maybe you can change the feet to zip together. Maybe you can think about the inner thighs coming together. It all does different things. You don't have to do it all at the same time. Okay. But we'll go into a flow and see where we go. So inhale, sweep all the way up. Exhale, cactus arms. Take the chin just gently to the chest. Inhale, lift. Draw the hands gently behind you, bend the knees, take a forward fold. Take a pause here. As we come forward, sweep into chair pose, Utkatasana. And take a little fold. We're going to come to low lunge, so leave the right foot at the front of the mat, decide where you want to come, and either bring the hands, it's quite nice to bring the hands out to the side when we've got lots of space, lifting up through the body. Maybe hands come to high prayer, maybe they're coming to cactus arms, which will take pressure off the shoulders if that's also an issue for you. And then we're going to come to that little monkey stretch, half monkey stretch. So we're going to just gently drop the hands, allow the foot to just slide or move it because we've all got quite sticky mats. Just allow that stretch, and you can, if you want to, bring the head down slightly in this half Hanuman. Take a moment, breathing. And then just draw up into a little vinyasa. Either chair pose or vinyasa, wherever you want to go. It's downward facing dog. To the top of the mat. Utkatasana. Uttanasana. I've got chair on my mind fixed now. Hands interlace behind. You can lift the hands if you wish. If you don't want to sink into chair, just come to an upward salute as you come up and forwards to stretch the body out. Hands come all the way to the heart as we fold, gently bending the knees. Allow the left foot to stay at the top of the mat. Step the right foot so it's not going to be stepped so far back if you've got that slightly different low lunge. Push through that front foot and allow yourself to lift. Hands come to the heart. Allow yourself to just sink, and you will need to just adjust now, especially if you've got a narrower stance on low lunge, into half Hanuman. Taking a moment here. Rolling forwards, we're going to bring the knees together. Just allow yourself a child's pose, just as a little counter pose, just to bring the head down to the mat. And just take a moment and just take any stretch there, noticing that if you want to go to the side of the mat, you can do to stretch the body. Rising all the way up, we're going to come to stacked back position. Just take a moment here, just circling the hips, maybe cat-cow. And then we're going to keep the left knee in the center, and we're going to take that left foot off the mat and come to that gate pose stance. So we're going to lift the hand up, and we're going to bring that right hand all the way down the right leg. So we're into gate pose. So stretch down the side of the mat. Really anchor the side of the foot into the mat. Or if you've got the foot flat and your ankle allows, that's fine. Drop the left hand, lift into little side plank variation. You've got choices here. You can stay in this side plank variation, or you can lift and hover the knee. That's the one that's supporting you. Don't have to. And then you can kick that foot out in front of you if you wish to come into a side plank variation. Bring the knee back underneath you, back to gate pose. Now you're going to bring the left hand back down to the mat, lift up the right knee into a little half moon. And then if you want to, you can grab that foot pushing through the hip. Gently pop that foot down, extending the leg. Turn as if you're coming to a little runner's lunge. Anchor your right foot, lift the left up to tripod. If you want to put a little sneaky wild thing in, you can do. If not, you can just work here, come down to the knees. If you want to come into a little sneaky wild thing, you can. It doesn't matter, Vicky. Coming all the way back into downward facing dog. And then bring the knees gently to the mat. Right knee is now going to turn. Pivot on the right knee. Come to the other side so I can see the other half of the class. Yes. Lift all the way up. Left hand extends all the way down the left leg into gate pose. Right hand comes down gently to the mat. And then we can come to a little side plank variation by keeping our knee on the mat. If you wish, you can hover that right knee, or you can kick the right foot forwards, whatever suits you. Bring that right knee back, Turn to the front of the mat as if you're just in that little runner's lunge. Lift that right leg all the way up into tripod. This time, bring the right knee into the body. In fact, we forgot wild thing. You can step here. If you want to come into wild thing on that side, you can step that right foot back. I said the royal we, it was actually me who forgot wild thing. And then bring that right foot. We're going to step to low lunge, runner's lunge with the right foot. Step the left foot up. And carefully come all the way back up into mountain, allowing yourself just a moment here. Now, I had on the menu tonight revolved chair and then bound, and I thought, I think we might not do that because you've done quite a bit of that. So what we're going to do, we're just going to take a gentle stretch. So we're going to take our left hand straight down and our right hand behind us. So you're just clasping here. Okay. And what that's going to do, it's going to allow you to either open and then drop the chin so you get a stretch through the front body if that's comfy for you. You can also just take the neck for a little walk, just back and forwards, or take the nose. That's maybe the better way. Just allowing maybe the chin towards the collarbone. Releasing opposite side. And then again, just taking a moment here. And then just allow yourself to shake out any movement, any tension. While we're on this theme, and there's just a few in class, it's a really good opportunity because, you know, you're just saying actually low lunge, you feel that scoop of the back and it's not comfy. Is there anything else like that that you think so yoga shouldn't hurt. It should feel stretchy, but it shouldn't feel uncomfy. So is there anything else anyone wants to ask about? Because it's a really good opportunity, and I know we're on camera, but actually anybody watching who's in the class can benefit from it as well. So the high lunge is an interesting one, because again, high lunge can be that scoop of the back, because what you've got is that straight leg. So you're pushing into the heel and you're coming forwards into that knee. So you get the same again. So if you still get that pressure on your lower back here, the solution is just to drop that back knee very slightly. So it goes back to that tune into what you need rather than what you think the pose should be. If you try that on both sides. So traditionally, the high lunge is that straight leg back, and sometimes that suits us. You can add a little bit of heat with the hands forwards. I particularly like this version. But equally, you can just soften by dropping that knee if you need to. You might not need to. Okay, all right, so no. Well, I'm sure everybody has just praised you, Vicky, for allowing us to sit down. So we can all sit down. So I wanted to take a little stretch anyway, because we've done a lot with back and forwards and we've done a lot of standing. So when we're seated, where are we? Are we bringing our ankles in? Are we allowing ourselves space? To be honest, I haven't got it tonight, but the blanket, are you sitting on the edge of a blanket? Is that too much? Is it pushing the hip so that you're actually putting too much pressure into the hip flexors forwards? And is that... So if it's not, you don't like it either, Sally, do you? Okay, so the option... Yeah, so the option, which I particularly like, because sometimes I don't like it either, I love Hero. I just adore sitting like this, which you can... Yeah, you get cramp there. Okay. So that's not a favourite for everybody. It's really interesting. So sitting butterfly. So the yin version of butterfly is a really nice one. The yin, so if you're in butterfly, it's a bound pose. So in Hatha yoga, it's very much about, you know, that engaging, that center line. We're engaging the hip flexors, we're peeling open the feet, but it can be a yin pose where we sit in it as well. So we just bring the heels away from us. And even better, you see you've got your two blocks there, Vicky. Put one either side, just underneath each leg. And you might need to tuck them in a bit. Is that now a supported pose rather than, yeah, and that's perfectly, and that's, so the other pose that I can't do it without height. I can actually, but it's not as comfy, is coming onto the shins. And then just, you'll see me just sitting on my blanket. I like that. So I haven't crossed my ankles. I've literally flattened, and I couldn't do this for a long time after I damaged my ankle, but I've just flattened my feet forwards. I see yourself doing it sometimes as well, Laura, just naturally. So your heels are more up. Yeah. It needs height. Yeah, it needs a lot of height. Is that comfier? Yeah. It's just finding where's comfy for you. And I know, Sally, you like butterflies, and that's where you like sitting, and you might need loads of height. How's that feeling, Amanda? So can you draw a heel? And it's almost as if I'm turning onto my shin. Okay, so soften it. So just maybe just ankles away from you, not crossed. So maybe you've got too much height. You are quite high on one block. So it might just be that you just need a little bit. Oh, so we'll have to untangle Amanda. That's looking like you're there. And then we always lift through the spine. So, because you can then start to think about coming into a locust pose. So you might come into a half locust pose where you are opening the hip forwards and don't, so you've got locust, Laura. I haven't quite with my right ankle yet. But half is fine. Half is perfectly fine. Everyone's different. Everybody does different things. Everybody's body is very, very different. So I think what we'll do is, where are we for? Oh, yeah, okay. So I'm not going to get, I'll leave the pendulum flow for next week. Because I think you've done a fair amount. That's a really long flow. So what we're going to do, we're going to come to our backs, or if you want to, sit against the wall, and then just take a moment just with the legs, just in constructive rest pose. So you can sit against the wall and you keep the knees together. It just allows you a bit of support. Or you can come down to your back and bring the knees just, so what I'm offering it here is just a moment. You've done quite a bit standing, hips exploring. So just allowing just yourself a moment. Deer pose is another nice one, Aliska, if you're not wanting movement, but you just want just to relax. It's still a hip opener there. It just allows just upright. It's another seated pose that's quite comfy. Is that quite nice for you? Yeah. Yeah. And it can just release a little bit of tension as well, just gently. So for those who are on their backs, just maybe even now coming into a supine twist. So really stacking. You've got options here. So there's a really funny little cartoon that I've seen recently. Is like how a normal person sits and how a yogi sits, or how a normal person lies down and how a yogi lies down. Remember, you've got eagle legs. You can actually take a little bind into this, and it's more of a twist. It might be comfy for you, it might not. You can take eagle legs, or you can take supine twist and you can extend the top leg out long, like a little stabilizer, which can give you a slightly different supine twist as well. Just so it's exploring different options. Amanda's just turned into Kenny Everett over there. And just then, I think and if everyone's comfy and you can join if you want to, let's go on your back, it's up to you, it's fine. It's just to come into happy baby. So just coming into happy baby and allowing a little bit of love for the hips if you want. So if it's too much, then you can just come up onto the side. I know, so pushing the tailbone down to the mat just allows a little stretch and a little happy baby pose. Back and forwards. Maybe. And then we have that push of the feet into the hand and the hand onto the feet. And then back and maybe a little rock and roll up to the mat. Coming into maybe a deer pose, so we can soften the hips and just come up to seated. So hopefully that's been helpful tonight. Is there anything else? Because we can, where are we? We've got a nice little bit of relaxation that we can go into. Any, you all okay with nothing else that is sneakily hiding from me, that is causing you grief when you walk down the hill back from yoga? You're thinking, oh God, again. Because it can, you see, it can easily tweak it. So just change your deer pose side, just so you're on both sides evenly. You see, everyone's different. So Christian sitting in square pose. Fire logs, yeah. And we're cooling down, but we may as well have a nice long shavasana. So if you've got socks, blankets, anything to get yourself comfy, you've got options. If you enjoy it, I have swept the edges, so you can go into legs up the wall if you want to. But it cools down quite quickly when we're not moving. And again, if you're in seated meditation, remember that you can use the wall to prop yourself up against if that's something that you like. You don't have to. So make sure that you are warm. And comfy. And just allow yourself so if your leg's up the wall, Corrie, what you'll need to do without burning yourself on the radiator is get your bum right to the wall. So you almost have to shuffle yourself. So if you turn your mat so that your mat is long way, that's it, and pop it to the wall. So pop that mat right to the wall so that you've got support. Now what you need to do is you almost need to get your feet across to one side, so your kind of hips almost to the wall. And as you allow yourself, that's it, you can then come up and that will get you close to the wall. And the closer you shuffle, the closer you'll be, that you have to go from that starting point. And you can always move if you want to. So just allowing yourself to settle. Allowing yourself, wherever you are, to feel supported. taking a moment just to allow the breath to come back to just a rise and fall. And we probably were at a point where we had brought our breath back to just that natural state of breathing. Allowing, if you're in Shavasana, just that total feeling of the body, feeling heavy, the arms, the shoulders, becoming really aware of where you're connecting. And then allow the body to start feeling like it's melting, feeling that there's softness between the eyes and the forehead, the brow, that there's softness in the cheeks, in the chin, softness in the back of the tongue. Relax your eyes, allow your eyes to feel like they are heavy too. Relaxing across the collarbones, the shoulders, allowing the breath just to be gentle. And then use the breath, start to use the breath to take an inhale. And if you've got any areas of tension, take an inhale and push that breath all the way to that area. Or if you haven't, push it all the way to the soles of your feet. Or just take a nice big inhale and an exhale. And then just allow the breath back, that gentle pattern. Tuning in to different sounds. And bringing your attention slowly back to the rise and fall. Maybe that's a slight movement, maybe it's a feeling. Bringing your attention to the palms of the hands and the fingers. Bringing maybe slight movement to the toes. Wherever you are, if you're lying down, very slowly, moving onto your side, just pausing when you're ready. There's no rush. And taking your time to come And join us back in seated, however that is, if it's butterfly or doesn't matter. And just gently taking the hands together with an inhale and exhale. And thank you very much for joining class tonight. That's okay. I'll just switch the recording off, and then hopefully those who haven't made it can share in the joy of Utkatasana many times. There we are. Let me stop that.